Somewhere on a shortwave radio frequency, a single monotonous tone has been repeating, almost without interruption, for over 40 years. No music, no news, no station identification, just a dull, mechanical buzz, repeating roughly 25 times a minute, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for decades. And every so often, without warning, the buzzing stops. A voice speaks, reads out a string of numbers and code words in Russian. And then, just as suddenly, the buzzing starts again, as if nothing happened at all. Nobody outside a small circle of Russian officials knows exactly why. This is the story of UVB-76, better known to the people who listen to it as the buzzer. Shortwave radio might seem like a relic today, but for most of the 20th century, it was one of the most reliable ways to send a signal across enormous distances, bouncing off the atmosphere to reach receivers thousands of miles away. With equipment cheap enough that almost anyone with the right receiver could listen in. During the Cold War, both sides used shortwave frequencies constantly, for everything from public broadcasts to secret military communications. Hidden among the ordinary broadcasts, hobbyist radio listeners around the world started noticing something strange. A frequency just above 4,625 kilohertz that carried nothing but a single repeating buzz tone, over and over, apparently without purpose. Nobody knows exactly when the buzzing first began. The earliest confirmed recordings that radio enthusiasts have on file date to the early 1970s, though some listeners believe the signal may have started even earlier. What we do know is that it has barely stopped since. Listeners gave it the informal name UVB-76 based on what was believed to be part of its call sign, though the actual technical details of the signal have shifted over the decades. To the wider community that has tracked it for years, it's simply known as the buzzer. For most of its existence, the transmission was almost pure monotony. Just the tone, endlessly repeating, sometimes with faint background noise that hinted at a live, occupied location, rather than a fully automated system, like the distant sound of a door or muffled conversation barely audible beneath the static. That detail matters because it suggests that at least for some of its history, there were real people sitting at the transmitter, not just a machine running on autopilot. Then, occasionally, the buzzing would stop. In its place, a voice, always speaking Russian, would read out a sequence of numbers, followed by a set of seemingly random words. Then, without further explanation, the buzzing would resume, sometimes seconds later, sometimes not until a length of dead air had passed first. One of the most well-documented incidents happened on the 3rd of June, 2010, when listeners recorded the station reading out a message identifying itself with the words 1517, Ali Papa, and following it with a code phrase and a name. The recording spread quickly across radio enthusiast forums, and to this day, nobody outside Russian military circles has ever provided an official, confirmed explanation for what that specific message meant or why it was sent. This pattern of rare cryptic voice transmissions is part of a much broader category of signals known among radio enthusiasts as numbers stations, shortwave broadcasts that read out sequences of numbers or code words, widely believed by intelligence researchers to be a method for governments to send coded instructions to operatives in the field. Because a numbers station broadcast is essentially untraceable once it's picked up, and because shortwave radio can be received virtually anywhere in the world with basic equipment, this method was, for decades, considered one of the most secure ways to communicate with agents operating deep undercover. What makes UVB-76 different from a typical numbers station is the sheer amount of dead air. Most confirmed number stations transmit only when they have a message to send, then go silent. UVB-76, by contrast, transmits constantly. The buzzing itself, most researchers believe, exists simply to hold the frequency, to prove the channel is active and hasn't been repurposed or lost, so that on the rare occasion a real message needs to go out, there's already a live, working connection ready to carry it. For most of its history, investigators trying to locate the source of the signal traced it to a facility near the town of Povarovo, not far from Moscow. In 2010, radio enthusiasts and journalists tracking the signal's strength and direction reported that the transmission appeared to have moved, with signs pointing toward a military facility located near Pskov, close to Russia's border with Estonia. Neither location has ever been officially confirmed by Russian authorities. To this day, no government agency has released a public statement explaining what UVB-76 is actually for. Over the decades, a handful of competing theories have emerged, each with supporters among the radio enthusiast community, though none has ever been officially confirmed. The most widely accepted theory among researchers is that UVB-76 functions as a military communications channel, most likely tied to Russia's strategic forces, potentially serving as a backup or fail-safe system in case primary communication networks were ever disrupted or destroyed. Under this theory, the constant buzzing is simply a way of keeping the line open and provably functional at all times, so that if a real crisis occurred, a message could be sent instantly without wasting critical time trying to establish a new connection first. A second, more dramatic theory ties UVB-76 to Cold War era rumors of a so-called dead hand system, an automated system reportedly designed to detect a catastrophic strike against Russian leadership and, in the absence of any human override, automatically authorize a retaliatory response. Under this theory, the buzzing is a constant signal confirming the system remains intact and functioning, and a permanent stop in the buzzing could, at least in theory, be interpreted as a sign that something has gone catastrophically wrong. A third, less sensational theory suggests the station may simply serve a more mundane military purpose, such as monitoring atmospheric conditions or maintaining general communications infrastructure for a specific military district, with no dramatic doomsday function at all. None of these theories has ever been definitively proven, largely because Russian authorities have never released an official explanation. Every theory available today comes from outside analysis, radio direction finding, and occasional leaked information, not from any confirmed government source. What makes UVB-76 especially compelling to modern listeners isn't just the mystery itself, but the fact that it's still active today. Unlike most Cold War-era oddities, which eventually stopped, were declassified, or simply faded into history, UVB-76 has continued broadcasting well into the present day, and it can still be picked up live, right now, by anyone with a shortwave receiver or an online software-defined radio stream. Thousands of listeners around the world tune in constantly, not to hear anything in particular, but simply to be present in case, on that specific day, the buzzing stops and a message comes through. Over the years, online communities dedicated entirely to monitoring UVB-76 in real time have grown into a strange, dedicated form of internet culture. Listeners log every anomaly, every unusual pause, every unexpected voice transmission, cross-referencing timestamps and comparing notes, treating a decades-old military radio signal almost like an ongoing unsolved puzzle that the entire internet is quietly working to piece together. one recording at a time. In a strange way, UVB 76 represents something increasingly rare in the modern world, a genuine, unresolved mystery broadcasting in real time, 24 hours a day, that anyone with basic equipment can listen to for themselves right now, without needing to trust anyone else's account of what they heard. Nobody outside a small circle of officials knows exactly what UVB 76 is for, or why it still runs, decades after the Cold War that likely created it came to an end. All that's certain is this: somewhere, a transmitter is still buzzing, and somewhere, someone is still listening, waiting for the day the buzzing stops again. If you want to see more forgotten mysteries and strange signals from behind the Iron Curtain, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.